You are welcome once again to your favorite show, The League of the Genuine Conversations, with me, your host, Fred Mwema. We have a dedicated programming service to discussing the important but often ignored subject of counterfeits. Joining me to continue the conversation is a representative from the National Drug Authority. Join me in welcoming Mr. Abiaz Ramwiri. Mr. Abiaz, you are welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here to discuss, as you clearly put it, a very important issue that touches our lives.
Mr. Abiaz, you can see here in Kololo we have, despite being one of those premium places in the city, I know you don't regulate power, but we have issues with power going and going on and off, and many people want to blame regulators. The problem is the regulators. They are the ones who are not doing. You are now speaking on behalf of the regulators. Is the problem with the regulators in Uganda, or problem is with who?
The only regulator I know and speak for is National Drug Authority.
Yes.
And from where I sit, I can't say it's all gold and shining. There are challenges, but that's why we exist. The problem is not the regulator. The problem is the system that we work in, that is in most often looked at and taken advantage of by usually very few selfish individuals who want to make an extra buck
at the expense
of the community.
So Abiaz, what do you do at the National Drug Authority?
I'm the spokesperson of the National Drug Authority. I'm the public relations manager, and I don't do the armchair PR of sitting and reading reports. I work very closely with both management and our field teams to ensure that we deliver a very key mandate to Ugandans. And when I say we, the National Drug Authority, which is a government agency, but 100% autonomous, that is set up to ensure that Ugandans and their animals have access to safe, good quality drugs that work well. We say it's good quality, safe, and efficacious.
Effective.
It should work as it was designed. It should deliver a benefit as the manufacturer, as the researcher, as the developer intended it to. And that's what, as National Drug Authority, are mandated to do. And we deliver that key mandate by performing several functions, which, if you allow me to run through them quickly, one, and each of those functions is actually interlinked with the other. There is one key function we call good manufacturing practice inspections. Before a drug is allowed into the market, we work with both local and international manufacturers to ensure that our teams do technical inspections to be sure and satisfied that the drug or the product that is coming out of that factory has gone through an environment that does not compromise its quality. In farmer language, they say the quality of a product is not only tested, it is inbuilt. Meaning that the processes the drug goes through, if it is not well regulated, chances are that its quality can easily be interfered with, and you will never test and get it into the laboratory, no matter the level of your laboratory efficiency. I'll give you an example. We say if someone is mingling for you the karo, And within that process, the person behind the mingling is sweating and the sweat drops in. You will never know that actually your nice tasting karo had someone's sweat. And in a drug manufacturing, there are things that can easily compromise the quality of a drug, and you will never tell. Sometimes they can easily pass through the regulatory processes if you don't...
Without detection.
Yes, if you don't hold them within the manufacturing processes.
So the first one is manufacturing.
Yes, we want to make sure that we have looked into the manufacturing processes, the environment where this product is going to be. You had an incident last year, towards the end of last year, over a pediatrics syrup that killed over 80...
In the Gambia?
In Gambia.
89.
89. And that is what is reported. Could have been more. It is because someone... it was contaminated into the factory. Some of them, an example, the machines used, some of them can easily peer and get into a product as you roll through. We look at, for example, herbal, which people usually believe in so much that it is not risk-free. If someone is using wrong pesticides into the garden, chances are that those residues can easily end into the product. So for like herbal manufacturers, we want even to go and look at the garden. Where are you sourcing your raw materials? So it's a detailed...
so manufacturing is one of them?
Is one of them.
Is distribution the other?
Then we do what we call product registration. And each of those
product
are
registration.
Product registration. Product registration and authorization. So when our teams... And those functions, they work so... You can't separate them, unfortunately. And they are... while they are being handled under different directorates, but they work so closely. So when someone, for example, is put up a product, let's say a local herbal medicine, they bring samples to us, and the documentation, the initial information about this product, how was it developed. Then our teams scientifically analyzes it.
Is that the stage at which you register the trademark?
Yes, not a trade. We don't register trademarks. Trademarks are registered by another agency.
And isn't the person registering this medicine required to prove that they own the trademark?
Unfortunately, our current law does not require us. What we must look into is that you have a unique name of your product. It should not be a name of a product that is already existing locally or internationally, but also that the branding. We look into the branding. How have you branded your product? But most importantly, before we go into the outside, we will analyze
the contents.
The contents. How was this drug formulated, and is it capable of, from the scientific point of view, of alleviating, treating, preventing a condition it is being designed for. When our teams are convinced, we'll either ask for more information, or your product will be allowed onto the market in two systems. Either for a local herbal medicine, it will be notified. Notified is the initial approval we give to herbal medicine based on the scientific information we have. At that point, herbal medicine, because it has been used within our communities for a very long time, we have a special pass we give them before they can do clinical trials. Clinical trials, this is a scientific, highly controlled study where drugs are now being tried into humans to see if they will perform as they are designed.
But while you are at that, yes.
So the initial approval we give to local herbal medicine would be a notification. Then for the products that are conventional, if they pass our scientific analysis, we allow them to go to register. So the product is registered into Uganda, it is put onto our drug registry, and it can now be distributed. One of the key scientific measures we take is now the laboratory. We have our laboratory, which is WHO pre-qualified, maturity level 4, the highest maturity level, ISO certified. When I talk of WHO, it is not the country represented, from Geneva. And what does that mean?
Where is that lab? Here in Kampala?
Here in Murago. What does that mean? It means that any product that passes into our laboratory can pass anywhere
in the world.
In the world. A product that fails here, it can never pass anywhere. And we have examples. We've tested into our laboratory the famous condom saga in 2017, where one of our key partners brought imported condoms from a Malaysian multi-billion firm. And they were not only distributing to Uganda, they were distributing to Africa and some other parts of the world. We tested them, we found them lacking. They had some small micro holes, which would have risked lives of Ugandans and everyone who would use them. We shared the results. They protested, took samples to South Africa, to US and Germany. They all failed. And that tells you how respected we are. With that factory, multi-billion dollar.
Had to go back to the drawing board.
No, it closed. You shut down.
Oh.
You shut down. The moment you mess up, we operate in a very sensitive environment. One of the things that was blacklisted by one of the biggest donors, so they had to close. We closed another acaricide factory in Zambia. We tested their product. We found it was not to the quality, and they closed. So that is where we are in terms of the laboratory.
Good manufacturing.
We have the good manufacturing, we have the product registration, we have the laboratory, the quality control laboratory. And this is where we do, before we allow the product onto the market, but also the post-market surveillance. When we allow the product onto the market, we follow it to ensure that the product is as good as we released it onto the market. It's part of our supply chain monitoring process. So we keep going into the market using our pseudo buyers, sampling, go into the laboratory, test, and when products fail, we take regulatory actions. Some of the products can fail for so many reasons, and some of them we don't even come to the public. We have layers. It could be because the batching, and when it is just one batch, we work out with the manufacturer to make sure that product is recalled, and we supervise the entire process. And because it is just one batch, we don't want to cause the panic to the public, so we will not announce. But if it is an issue like that, those condoms, we put
then
it out.
Make it public.
We'll make it public.
Yes, somebody listening to you once is convinced that we have an efficient system of drug regulation at the point of manufacture, registration, quality control, inspection. So how then do we get fake medicines onto the market?
Now, so we've done the registration, we've done the quality control, after the good manufacturing inspections and everything. Then we have what we call control over the supply chain. So when your product has been registered, it needs to be supplied onto the market. That's that chain where the drug is going to be stored, then later distributed to pharmacies, to drug shops, up to the end user. We control that supply chain by licensing, looking at where the product is going to be stored. All the drug stores must be licensed by us, the drug shops and the pharmacies.
Okay.
So we control that supply chain. Now, to your question, and each of those functions, they have other sub systems that feed into the control. There is another key element which now looks at later. The product has been consumed. We look at product safety. We follow a drug to ensure that people who use this drug and could react to it are able to report to us, and we take regulatory action. But also the other key thing with the product safety is that we control the promotion, the advertisement. Drugs are not like any normal product that they should
It's not
be.
like soda.
Yes, so we control its promotion and advertising.
Abias, you've described
safety.
a robust system.
Yes.
I'm very eager to know before we take a break.
Yes.
How come we get fake drugs on the market?
The fake drugs, one, to know that the drugs, the issues of counterfeit of drugs, counterfeiting, relabeling, repackaging, that all combine, we call them impure drugs, is not a problem that is limited to Uganda, to Africa. It's a global challenge. According to WHO, they estimate that about 40% of the drugs that are on the market in Africa are counterfeited, are impure. Either they have been relabeled, repackaged,
falsified,
unwholesome, and all that. In the US, with the highest controls, they estimate that between 2 to 10% of their drugs fall under falsified, counterfeited, all that. The reason is there is a lot of money that
to be
made in this business that we control. WHO estimates that about 50% of the drug value goes to the people who are doing the wrong thing.
The counterfeiters.
The counterfeiters. So I wanted to give those statistics to tell you how big the challenge is. Now, one of the biggest challenges, to bring it home, we actually under, I talked to 40%. We've done, especially in the veterinary medicine where research has been done, we are under 10% of the counterfeited products.
Only 10% of the vet drugs are counterfeit.
Yes, and that is an independent research that has been done by independent entities. It is not something to celebrate, because later we'll go into the dangers of having even 1% of a counterfeited product, or 0.0.1. Our aim is to minimize. It's very difficult. We can achieve it, to eliminate, but we
minimize.
We want to minimize
the incidence of the fakes on the market.
We
need to take a break. When we return, we shall talk about
why
the recent victory, how you are minimizing the presence of fakes on the market to keep Ugandans safe, and we shall talk about the Soroti case, the success you registered in the court. Let's take a break. We're back with the second segment of the conversation here with Mr. Abias, the PRM, Public Relations Manager. You want to be different always, Abias. Your friends call themselves PR, or for you are PRM. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What we want is the content. We were talking about what NDA is doing, what NDA needs to do, despite having a robust and very attractive control mechanisms. We still have fakes, and you are explaining, and then you lead into the case that you had in Soroti. Tell us.
Why do we have, with all the systems we have, why do we have fakes onto the market? Before we go into fakes, drugs are designed to bring a benefit, to either to prevent, alleviate, or treat a condition.
Yeah.
For them to be able to deliver their benefit, they must be used well. A good drug must be used well to work for you. and that's why drugs are classified. So that they are prescribed. There are those that should be given out on a prescription of a doctor, who after examination and analyzing your condition says you need to take this particular product for these so many days in these intervals. Now, if you take them not following that interval and prescription, either under or overdose, they will definitely not work as they were designed to. And when they, most times, especially from what we are seeing in with our product safety studies, most of us do not follow those prescriptions. And unfortunately, when we don't, drugs will not be able to give us the benefit that they are designed to have. And when you don't get that benefit,
then you say the drug doesn't work.
It doesn't work, is fake.
So what you're saying is that the counterfeits in the medicines begin with the usage with us. Sometimes we are the ones
who are counterfeiting our own drug by not following its use schedule. That is number one. The other key thing is that who is giving you the drug is also very important. Drugs are not like any other product. They are not kasori that you go into a market and anyone will measure for you and give you. That's why we require a qualified personnel with minimum qualifications behind the counter to be able to interpret and look at the prescription that the medical personnel has written for you, or for those off-counter drugs, and be able to explain to you. I'll give you an example. If someone says this is paracetamol, you're supposed to take it 3 times a day. What does it mean? We have 24 hours. So what that means?
In what intervals?
In intervals, you should
and
be.
And how many tablets?
And how many?
Is it 2 or 1?
If it is 2, they usually put, say, 2 times 3. What does it mean? Get 24 hours, divide them by 3. It means you're supposed to take that combination
8 hourly.
8 hourly. But some of us, we don't follow that. Simple.
So the next person you're blaming, you're saying the sometimes the user, then sometimes the giver.
The giver.
But now, Abiaz, in Uganda, we produce about 600, 700 pharmacies per year. We have a shortage of pharmacists. I think I saw a report from the Pharmaceutical Society saying we need at least 5,000 pharmacists to be able to be deployed in the government entities, health facilities, and even in the private. We just don't have the pharmacists.
That's why I mentioned. That's why I mentioned a minimum. Minimum meaning if you have an enrolled nurse, they can be able, under supervision of a pharmacist, to give a drug. And that's why we've been very lenient as a regulator to allow, knowing that there is not a shortage but a mismatch of the pharmacist with the need, to allow one pharmacist to supervise 2 pharmacists, for example. But otherwise, our law requires a pharmacist to be sitting in that pharmacy as long as it is open. But we've been able to make some leeways. But if it wasn't for COVID, the 2 years we lost, when the universities were not producing those key needed pharmacists, from our estimations, would be at par. So what we are looking at is the minimum. I don't know if you've gone out of Kampala. Some, even in Kampala, we had an incident in Najanankumbi around 27th, where
this year,
last year in December, a baby about I think 2 years went into this drug shop in Najanankumbi, was injected an overdose and died within 5 minutes in the drug shop. The issue was this was unqualified personnel giving. When we are into these enforcement operations, you find a P3 dropout is behind the counter, and the communities know that so and so son has never gone
But
to
some people
medical
say
school.
experience is the best teacher. So this
Not-
P3
not-
dropout
not with the drugs.
could have been.
Not with the
And then the
drugs.
other issue, Abiaz, is that these days there is information on the internet. Before somebody goes to see their doctor, they have a condition, they first Google and ask Mr. Google about this condition. What are the symptoms? What is the common treatment? So the first line of treatment before they see the specialist is the Mr. Google and the pharmacy, and they get the treatment.
How long did it take you to study law?
It took me so many years, plus the experience I have, almost 30 years and counting.
Now, someone wants to go on social media or on internet, read about a legal issue, and become a lawyer, and think they can give an interpretation like you.
But the reality of
Now,
the internet is there. How is the
the
internet interfering with?
Exactly. There is a lot of self-medication. We have a big challenge. We have a big challenge of self-medication, which is one, because of the internet. The other big issue that we must look into the mirror and challenge our politicians on is the burden of paying for health care through out of pocket.
The cost of healthcare services.
But mainly through out of pocket. What does that mean? I will pay for what I can afford, not what I need. So you go, you have a prescription, you need paracetamol for a week, and you reach at the pharmacy and you start negotiating that give me for 2 days, because that's the money you have.
That's not the dose?
It's not the dose, but that's what you can
the
afford.
money you have.
And on top of that, you need transport to get home. So because of that, people don't want to take tests. They don't want to pay for a consultation, because that is, to them, is an extra cost. I rather walk to the pharmacy, to the drug shop, get this drug. I don't know what I'm treating. Only guesswork, because I have a headache. Chances are that I have some
Last
fever.
time I took this treatment, my brother was sick. It's
Yes.
the same thing. Have the same.
Have the same.
Maybe when your brother gives you the balance of the medicine he had.
Exactly. But whereas before we even address that, how much importance do we attach to our health care attention? Because if you do that, and it's not only the poor person vending yellow bananas by the rights there, even most of us, the most educated with money, you're driving a Range Rover, but you feel parting with 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 to see a physician is unnecessary. So you'll go and buy a drug until your condition worsens. And unfortunately, the cost of reversing your own inflicted
is 100 times more.
Is 100.
So people are driving Range Rovers, but with a border behavior.
Exactly. What would solve that is to have a prepaid system, which is usually through health insurance, where all of us are able to contribute. It means that my mom, who is a peasant, is able to access the same hospital you go to, because they have insurance.
And the same medicines, yes.
And get the same medicine, see the same doctor, get the same attention, because they have a card which has been subsidized by those of us who are in formal employment.
You are talking about counterfeits in medicines on the demand side.
Now, there is a demand side. Now, why do we have counterfeit? Counterfeit has usually target the fast-moving products. And because they don't want to be caught in the process of holding and the distribution. I talked about how we how we regulate the supply chain. And we have tried to make it airtight through those post-market surveillance we do, the sampling we continue doing. But counterfeiters, they, like any crime, there is a syndicate. They know who to give their counterfeited. You want to know that to counterfeit the most expensive, highly technical drug that has been developed by big pharma company that has invested multi-billion dollars into their systems and everything. You just require a small room. Your bedroom somewhere in Katanga with a small machine and you around
mix cassava and a few.
Exactly, and you have a product that mimics the existing one. And working through your syndicate. You don't need the supply chain. They are on call. Borders deliver from one point to another. Their supplier from Chegego has come in Kawempe. Would be at a bus stop. Someone delivers a Kavera, off you go. It is, and everyone who is involved is happy. There is money involved, including even us, the user. At the farm, we are happy until something wrong happens because you're paying less.
Abias, are you saying, I have seen, when I was coming here, I saw a border. It had a pharmacy name, I don't remember the name, and they were saying, we deliver. Is it safe to deliver medicine on a border? You order, I hear telephone medicine, and then the border man, how sure are you that the integrity of the medicine in transit, I don't know. Is it safe? Do you recommend?
We have regulated supply chains of the same, where people can get drugs by the court, knowing some of the challenges that we have. The doctor might be wanting to save a life and they need this particular drug, and by the time you get into the traffic cross from Wandegea to Zambia, a life can easily.
That is emergencies. There are people who sit at home and they don't want to hit the traffic.
Yes,
and they just order.
I have a prescription from my physician, and I'm sick. I don't have a health caretaker. I'm an old man. My doctor reviewed me and he gave me a drug for 3 months. I only had money for 1 month, and I can be able to call and have drug
that is
distributed.
Different.
That is okay. Now, we also have what they call
telemedicine, where you are examined online. You are not with your doctor.
You are examined, and there are parameters.
What are they?
The parameters are the doctor should be able to do a simple clinical analysis, and they will not give you
via the phone.
They will not give you complicated, for example, medicine. If, for example, your condition is you are a mother in labor and you've started bleeding, a doctor should not prescribe an intervention. They will need you to be evacuated to
But if you are
to
in
a facility.
Mukono and your doctor is in Kampala,
They will definitely, after analyzing, if you give the accurate information, they should be able to take a necessary. And that is not only, telemedicine is not only a new thing. It's been everywhere. It's coming up here. But also the borders you're talking about, those motorbikes delivering, some of them, they are clear systems.
Protocols they follow, so it is safe. It can be safe.
It can be safe. So, it can be abusive. That is the challenge.
Abias, I don't want people to listen and think that we are admonishing internet. Internet is actually also promoting health provision. Even the borders, maybe they are promoting health services. But what you're saying is that there needs to be clear regulation. Otherwise, it can be abused. Absolutely.
But why I brought in motorbikes is that counterfeiters work. They are like me and you. They are under intelligence. They know that someone is either following them, is watching them. So they want to create an airtight system where they can not be caught and products move so fast. Most of the counterfeited products in terms of drugs are mainly in vet medicine. We know we have arrested some people selling expired drugs of humans. That is also part of tampering with, because that drug should be disposed of. It is poison. There is a thin line between a drug and poison. It is either how it is.
The drug itself is poison.
It's poison
if you take it in the wrong quantity.
In the wrong quantity, and how it is used, and the information about it. So we found some people relabeling, repackaging human medicine, but the biggest chunk is in veterinary. And why? Is that they work in a syndicate. They have connections with the patient, the farmer. And some of them actually, the counterfeiting is being done on the farm by the watch of the farmer himself.
The
and
owner.
The owner. He is happy until something wrong happens. I'll give you an example. We have a big challenge as a country, as a region, called tick resistance. The ticks in Kwa, have started growing resistance to the acaricides that we have onto the market.
The resistance came from fake acaricides?
No.
Or the ticks became clever?
It is naturally, it's a natural phenomenon that organisms resist, mutate, but also
metamorphose.
Yes, they know how to defend themselves. They are like us. You start sitting on a border because you know the chances of accident, you're putting on a helmet. You sit in the car to avoid accidents.
So ticks also have helmets.
They have developed resistance. They have developed defensive mechanisms.
Are you saying we don't have a problem of fake acaricides? It is
I'm coming there. Now, because of that, what happens is that it is because a natural phenomenon. It is because we have misused the acaricides, poor mixing, wrong applications, and also a natural phenomenon.
So they don't become effective.
They are not. You would use a good, very safe product, but the inquiry would not die because it has developed resistance. Now, when you have when those products don't work, farmers will tell you dagara rifu batuletera ebichupuliti bikora. We have fakes. They will call them fakes. Now, what the people who get involved into counterfeiting, there are people who have some knowledge about drugs. So we've seen paravets, people who worked in factories, and have seen someone with little information about the drug. So what they're doing, the people we have arrested, cases we've been able to not, and others are still at large, is that they get the acaricide, which they are calling fake, the already regulated products, and then they mix in fumigants. Now, fumigants are designed to work in plants,
totally different
killing
kind of
ants, killing where there is no direct human consumption. So they get these fumigants, agrochemicals, they mix them with acaricide.
And produce a totally different thing.
What they don't know, what we don't know. The first few applications, it will actually kill the tick because it's poison. It was designed to kill bats, kill termites, so it will kill any living thing that it will come in contact with. And the farmer celebrates and hails you for saving them the ticks. We've seen where it's mostly used in the cattle corridor in southwestern Uganda. Cattle have gone blind. The skin has lost fur. They are getting.
And unfortunately, when the cattle dies, the people eat it.
There is what we call One Health. Knowing the reason we control vet drugs with humans is that we actually consume the products,
meat,
the eggs, the everything, the milk, the meat, the eggs. It ends up on our plate, and such a highly concentrated fumigants, when they are applied on the animals, they actually their residues come into the animal products that we consume. No wonder we are getting several cases of cancers that we cannot account for.
Abiaz, we need to take a break. We're going to talk about the challenges when we return that the NDA is facing in fighting these fakes and what we need to do as a public. We're back with the third and last segment of this conversation here with a representative of the National Drug Authority, Mr. Abiaz, Public Relations Manager. You had a big public relations coup you did this week. Baju Charles is behind bars, a gentleman from Soroti who was imprisoned for 6 years. Tell us the challenges that NDA faces through this case of a Baju. How does this case bring out the challenges and the opportunities that you have to fight counterfeits?
Thank you. The National Drug Authority, working with police, we arrested Charles Baju from makeshift market in Soroti called Kakini Market. These are makeshift dairy markets that happen.
Mobile markets
that happen In Teso, there is a big challenge where people buy drugs from open markets. So drugs, Charles Sebaggio and his friends, they would go into open markets, display drugs on the ground.
But that's not possible.
On a sunny
Teso
day,
has our vice president comes from Teso, our speaker of parliament comes from Teso, and other prominent. I'm sure they have told their constituents best practices with medicine. How is that possible?
One of the members of parliament, I don't want to go into titles, but one of the members of parliament could not believe that actually that happens. And we've
in their area,
and we've worked out a mechanism where we'll be working with all those prominent people you're talking about to sensitize people, about where should you sell the drug, but also why should you buy a drug to keep in your home for the future sickness you don't know. Because that's what happens. They go sell a goat, and as they are passing, the Charles Sebaggio kind are calling to buy a drug for malaria, typhoid, and all that.
So these drugs are sold like mangoes in the open?
Like salt, like soap, like second-hand clothes.
So when was this Charles man arrested?
So we arrested him at the end of August 2022. That is last year, with other people. We had just spent a week doing sensitizations in the markets, telling such people the dangers, the illegalities they were committing, but also sensitizing the communities why they should not risk their lives and they had earned money to such people. A week later, we did an enforcement operation and arrested him with other 4 people who pleaded guilty. Charles Sebaggio, on camera, we found him with the drugs, but he denied before the magistrate that he had those were never his drugs. He was in a market to do other business. We had all the evidence that we presented before the court, and last Monday, after reviewing our evidence and his defense, the magistrate sentenced him to 6 years in prison on 2 accounts. One, conducting a business of a pharmacist without a license.
But that is 5 years.
Which attracts maximum of 5 years.
Yes.
Then the second one, possession of classified drugs, which attracts 3 years.
What are classified drugs?
The drugs which should be in the hands of a qualified personnel. Classified, all the drugs we have, so conventional drugs are classified.
Is aspirin classified?
Yes. Even paracetamol is classified. It is under class C of our schedule, meaning it can be...
Oh, it is under class.
It's under class.
But there's what they call over-the-counter drugs.
Those are classified drugs. They are classified
which
drugs.
You can go and ask for.
Yeah, that is class C. Then we also we have class B1, class B2, which class B2 are pharmacy
prescription.
You can walk into a pharmacy.
But over the counter, I don't need a prescription.
You don't need a prescription. And those are drugs. The reason we allow that is that these are drugs that have been used over time. And
like which drugs?
Like paracetamol.
Paracetamol for headache.
Yes.
Running stomach drugs are also over the counter.
Yes, charcoal,
magnesium.
Exactly, but not antibiotics. So we have
antibiotics are prescription.
They are prescription. Now, then we have prescription drugs, which are given after a medical or a dental practitioner.
What about these drugs which ladies take to become brown? Is that also medicine?
That's not medicine. That's not medicine. Those are Those are cosmetics as far as we are concerned.
No, but it's a tablet. It's an oral admission. A cosmetic is on the body.
Those are some of the challenges we'll talk about. There are gray areas within the law that we are engaging Parliament to have addressed, so that we do not, because as you, in other countries, even a deodorant that you use is a drug, because it changes your body into a certain way so that it performs the function it does. It makes it a drug, a deodorant.
But drugs are supposed to cure an illness
and manage a condition. So why do you use a deodorant in the first place? There is a condition you're trying to manage, so that you don't give out bad odors through your sweat and all that. That's what makes it. So there is a chemistry there.
So you regulate cosmetics also?
Currently we don't, but in other regulatory frames, cosmetics actually drugs, because they change. You can look at, you're talking about the ones, the tablets our sisters and mothers swallow, but also they apply some of the cosmetics that change their skin color, and that transformation falls under a drug. It means there is a chemical reaction. So we'll talk about those challenges.
What about the challenge of this man? You found him on a street.
So going back to Charles Ebaju, we welcome the judgment of 6 years. To us,
you're not appealing.
He could have gotten 8 years. That's a big statement, and it gives us an opportunity to continue our engagement with the judiciary, because some of the challenges we have an order which we are trying to have improved by Parliament, but the order provides sentencing and fines. The fines of 1993, you find 2 million, 1 million, and for someone who...
The one of operating a pharmacy without a license,
is
5 million.
Is 5 million, which is...
But the law says either 5 years, or 5 million, or both.
Or both. And we would like...
So why did you apply for both?
We would like judiciary to appreciate the challenge that we face, the risk that we have, having an qualified personnel like Ebaju, risking the lives of Ugandans, public health, and they start applying both, or sentencing them to prison, because we don't get happy that a person like Ebaju has his 3 years are going to be wasted. No, but we know if he had been left, how many people would he have killed? Would he have killed by his irresponsibility? I equate anyone who is counterfeiting medicine as a terrorist. The only difference with him is that he's killing Ugandans in smaller portions.
No, and he's asking them to pay for their death.
For their death.
Which a terrorist doesn't do. He just tells you to hands up.
Exactly. So if the judiciary can get that, as we work with the executive and parliament to have a stronger...
Strengthen the law.
Strengthen the law to be more punitive.
There's an accusation that you are only going for the small fish. That you are not dealing with the big fakers.
We have over 100 cases that are ongoing in different courts across the country. We have had someone sentenced to 10 years in prison. We found him selling government of Uganda drugs. Before the end of year, we were in Kitugum and broke into this racket where we impounded or recovered government of Uganda drugs and medical equipment worth over 1.5 billion Uganda shillings. So when you talk of a small fish, I don't know the biggest you want us. And mind you, people who are actually doing the actual one, knowing how it is very difficult to get a counterfeiter because they work undercover. You might find you are financing someone down in Kawempe, a small person, and he's bringing the busuru here. So the big fish are usually never into the system, and unfortunately when you grab the person who is in counterfeiting line, they will never disclose. And you are a lawyer, you know what that means, to force someone to disclose. We do not want to torture people to give us information.
To what extent is corruption, whether in the judiciary, whether in the police, to what extent is it affecting the prosecution and handling of these cases?
We are facing challenges in prosecution. I want to carefully contribute it to lack of information. The issues, the level of gravity we're talking about, of some of our colleagues who are prosecuting these cases, they are not able to see the danger of someone who is found, like the person we got in Rukaya sometime last year, who had over 3 tons of fake vet drugs, and he was only fined 3 million. They are not linking it to how many animals would have been exposed, how many children would have drunk that milk, and how many people would have taken meat from animals exposed to that. Now, the moment they get that, they will take it as serious as me and you do, and will have. I don't want to blame anyone.
Sensitize them?
That's what we are doing. We have actually
go and sensitize the prosecution, the judges.
We have put up a system through the principal judge's office, where we even want to create drug courts like we have now with the wildlife utility courts. So that if we arrest you in Karerwe vending drugs illegally, maybe we'll drive you up to Soroti. We've had two good judgments in Soroti. One of the guys we found who was a notorious drug dealer was fined 6 million. And I can tell you, he has failed to pay up to now. He's still behind the bars. So we have a friendly court in Soroti. Maybe we need to start driving people. But we are working with the judiciary to ensure that they are sensitized. We train them. Some of them have never even seen our act, and later interpret and be able to make it.
And yet they have to deal with the cases.
They have to deal with cases.
Do you do internal prosecution or you rely on DPP?
We work together. We have our legal team that works with DPP, but also with the investigations. What makes it very easy, the director of CID sits on our board, and we work very closely with police to follow up these cases. So in there, I don't want to blame corruption. I don't speak for judiciary. What I know for sure that we've been facing regularly is the mismatch of information that they have. They look at someone who was found with 2 jerrycans of acaricide. They look at the value. They start looking at the volumes, not how much that can cause to the public health,
to the community. Yes. Here on this platform, we have the acronym DANCANI, which is differentiation, affordability, normancy, convenience, concealed danger, aspiration, negligence. These we think are the drivers of counterfeiting. From the Ebaju case, which of those drivers informed the commission of this crime? Is it poverty, which was the driving factor, that people cannot afford to meet the standards for operating of a pharmacy? It's very expensive. You need a cold room to put medicine and so on. The man decides to put it out like maize. Which of those is a big driving factor?
The key one, me and you, we have a responsibility over our health. And if we don't take it, we can easily blame a regulator, we can blame government, we can blame police and everyone.
And God. Apart from ourselves.
But we have a responsibility of where we source our drugs from. So negligence on the part of the people who are providing a market to some of people like Ebaju is one of the biggest challenges.
Negligence of the consumer.
Of the consumer.
Not the regulator.
No, the regulator.
Because the consumer, I'm ignorant. I may not know the standards of what a pharmacy should be. I don't even know there is a license. You can imagine up country in Soroti. So maybe we are asking too much from the people of Soroti.
We have empowered the communities. When I joined the NDA, our message was buy drugs from licensed pharmacies and drug shops. And we said that was asking too much. How would the community person know which one is licensed and which one is not? And we reduced it to buy drugs from a pharmacy or a drug shop. And then the onus is on NDA to ensure that whatever drug shop or pharmacy that is open is licensed, meaning it has the good quality drugs, the person behind the counter is the qualified person and everything. So you have a responsibility
to go to a pharmacy.
To go to a pharmacy, a drug shop.
At the same
when
time,
you go into a market, and
then it's different. But at the same time, NDA is on record closing pharmacies for not being licensed, for not following standards. So it's even not safe If I go into a pharmacy, you could close me inside there when you come for your operation.
When we are closing, what we close is actually that operation is called compliance enforcement. It is part of our system to protect the public. Most of the pharmacies or anyone in the drug business, they have requirements that they need to follow, and when you fault on them, it calls on us to protect the public, because each one of them is as important. We don't go to close a pharmacy A to collect money, because license people think we are looking for licensing fees. Closing,
but you can also collect licensing fees.
We do, but just to give you statistics, a drug shop outside a city pays 90,000
per year.
If we are going to do enforcement on it, we send a minimum of 2 vehicles.
Each one consuming fuel
fuel, the wear and tear, the police, we facilitate them, our drivers and everything. Minimum, an enforcement in the region costs us 30 millions. We don't collect
30 million per what? Per day, per month?
It's usually 2 weeks. But we don't collect annual fees from those drug shops in that region of 30 million. So what we are trying to do is to protect the public. But going back to the negligence, you have a responsibility. Go buy a drug from a drug shop and a pharmacy, and you have a problem, then hold us responsible for not doing our work to protect you.
But don't you think the brands are also negligent?
Then,
because they are medicines whose branding, the fake is branded the same way like the genuine.
Those are issues we need to come back and talk about, the branding and
do you squeeze the brands also and
absolutely
you are negligent? Inform us.
We do, and some of them we actually record their products. When we find there is a mismatch, even if you change the actual packaging, how your box is done, you should inform us, so that when our teams are out there, they are aware that you've made these changes.
And then some brands, they will have a licensed distributor in the country. Then they also sell to individuals who come with the drugs in the briefcase.
In the briefcases.
So you have parallel imports. You have a drug, same drug, made in Turkey. It is not supposed to be here. The drug supposed to be here is from India. But you have Turkey, UK, US, India, everything is mixed.
And that's why we come in and cross those ones where you wanted to bring us on. Hey. So we want to see how do you get your stock and how do you get it out. Systems have to be there. So what? Remember, there is no drug that is risk-free. You can react to a drug. We as regulators should be able to come back and trace it. Where did you source it from? Go to a pharmacy. Now, if a pharmacy got it from someone who is walking in with a bag without the address, how you've killed our traceability, which makes it very difficult, because we should be able to know where did it come in, how much came in, so that we are able to recorrect and reduce the exposure and the risk. So that is the negligence. Of course, even the person like a Baju, he knew what he was doing. And that's why when you come in, they always try to run away. The other big thing is the convenience. Someone has gone to the market, sold his goat, he's buying soap, sugar, then he had someone calling for paracetamol, and he remembers he has someone who was talking about headache last evening, so he said, I can buy the drug here. And sometimes it is cheaper. You know why it is cheaper? This guy never went to school, so he's not charging you.
He has no overhead costs.
He has no overhead costs. His drugs are packaged poorly. Some of them could be expired, they are various. Some of them could be counterfeited. He did not spend money. So there is always
convenience
when it is too cheap.
What about concealed danger? We don't know the dangers.
Absolutely.
Even if you're poor, if you knew that this drug will shut down one of your organs, I doubt you will commit suicide. You still want to live.
That is one of the biggest challenges we have with these herbal medicine, quote in quotes. The unregistered ones. You've had some people come up being defended by reputable members of the public that they have a product that treats cancer that has failed the biggest pharmaceutical companies, that it treats
They have holy, I don't know, seeds or waters or
Absolutely.
what, all those things.
Now, people go and consume them because they don't know the danger. The other day we were in Fort Porto engaging the kingdom and the Toro kingdom. And one of the senior officials told us how he lost his dad here in Marago. Came to see a physician, was given medicine, and as they were exiting, his brother hears someone in the corridors calling that they have herbal medicine that is
cures
magical,
the condition.
That cures the condition. They buy a jerrycan. The old man reaches at home, is given some good mugs of the drug alongside the herbal. His system shuts down. Remember, some of us have kidney issues.
They
cannot process the toxins that are in some of those herbal products, and you take them.
The old man passes.
The old man died.
So a lot of the deaths we have is not because God has called us. No, we are just negligent. Like
we are negligent, but also we are not aware. Information is very, very key, and that's one of the things where I sit and working with platforms like yours and others
the gospel.
To spread the gospel so that people know the danger.
New Year message. We have never had a New Year message from NDA. You have a chance now. Give us a New Year message.
One, we are designed by law to contribute to the promotion and protection of public health. We want Ugandans to live a healthy life. We want them to engage in veterinary businesses that bring profit to them. Our commitment is to ensure that we allow products onto the market that are safe, of good quality, and that work well. We call upon Ugandans to work with us to ensure that these products that we allow onto the market are used right, they source them from the right places, and come to us when they see products that are suspicious.
What is the hotline?
We have a hotline which I will read to Ugandans. We have a WhatsApp number, but the key line for easy to get on us is 0417 788 100.
0417
788 100.
That's toll free.
That's a toll free line.
Give us also WhatsApp number. It's not here.
It's not here, okay. And but I know it is.
You will share with us.
I will share with you, but to be sure, it is 074 800 100 00. I will share that number. Fantastic. So that it can be displayed on your.
Time is up, Mr. Abiaz. You are indeed a manager in charge of public relations. You've had your 1 hour of pitching for only one entity, the National Drug Authority. I think this has been a very useful conversation we've had here. We've been joined, as you know, the Anti-Counterfeit Network, the League of the Genuine, is a platform that brings everybody together. Everybody is needed to fight and push back the menace of counterfeits. If you enjoy what we are doing, please do subscribe to the channel. Please do share the video. Put the notification so that you are notified every time we have a new program. Every Friday we shall be with you with the only show on the planet that talks about the important but often ignored subject of counterfeits. Don't be fake, buy and sell genuine.